It's my first time trying something like this, a video blog thing, but I'll give it a go, give it a try. Anyway, first and foremost, this video blog post is about why I'm standing for Parliament. It's a question I've been asked, and actually I've been criticised for not gushing more enthusiastically like some kind of X Factor contestant about how being an MP has always been some kind of dream of mine. Well, that criticism, interestingly, came from a career politician rather than a member of the public. Anyway, from my point of view, being an MP or being involved in politics like I am now as a local councillor isn't something I'm doing for fun or personal fulfilment. It's something I'm doing because I think it needs to be done. If you start to look into politics locally, nationally or whatever in any detail, and if you're watching this blog, I would imagine you are, you really see that there's an incestuous corrupt ecosystem of backroom deals, cronyism and jobs and favours for people who really should stay well away from public life. And you see this here locally with nonsense bodies that do nothing but funnel money to friends and family of councillors. We've seen this nationally with the response to COVID, where we've literally seen billions of public money lost, written off to COVID fraud, dodgy deals with people who are mates with the health secretary getting a WhatsApp message first for bidding on contracts and whatnot. And if you dig into how councillors and MPs put food on the table, you'll see there's really quite an open system of legal bribes and backhanders. And it's amazing how much money comes out of the public purse into benevolent sounding organisations that ultimately really only provide well-paid jobs for the right kind of people, with any charitable or public service work done really is more of an inefficient afterthought. Now, like I said, if you're watching this video or reading this blog, chances are you engage with politics and whatnot, and you're well aware of the issues I'm describing with a lack of transparency, accountability and cronyism. And you're also probably aware of another major issue in our political system, and that's that basically all our electoral positions of power have gatekeepers in the form of the traditional parties, the Tories and Labour, and they look to filter out anybody who isn't on board with the status quo, which is now very openly corrupt. Now, this works in three ways. Firstly, myself and the other Green or independent candidates in this election just won't be funded on the same level as those from the traditional parties, especially Tory and Labour. Myself, my campaign, to the degree that it is funded, will be funded exclusively by the proportion of allowances that myself and the other Green councillors pay into the local party, and then other donations made directly to the local party from members who live in the area. Conversely, when you hear someone like Rachel Reeves or Jeremy Hunt explain that we can't use our tax money to pay for things like infrastructure or public services, they each receive very hefty donations from people in organisations or just people in general who benefit from government not doing any infrastructure or public service work. Now, that money allows them to do paid leaflet drops all year round, have paid staff, paid advertising campaigns and all kinds of other things. It means they can have staff to do their actual work as politicians. I doubt Rachel Reeves or Jeremy Hunt have ever done any casework at any point in their lives. Now, aside from the money though, there's culturally a problem where both of these parties are run and staffed by people who have very close ideologies and in fact close relationships with people in positions of power in the media. Actually, you can see that fairly openly down here in BCP, where the Echo basically prints word for word whatever press release the Phil Broadhead, leader of the Conservative group, sends out. You saw this with budget, where put in some nonsense last minute amendment that had all of the officers responsible for making sure the council finances were on track, rolling their eyes and shaking their heads when he brought it up, and yet it was presented very uncritically by the Echo as a genuinely viable alternative idea to the budget being put forward by the administration. When you look at the media, it is as rare to see a panel without a Labour or Tory representative on as it is to see one with a Green on. In other organisations, similar to the Greens in size or even much less so in terms of elected members and actual members, they're very well represented in corners of the media, overrepresented in specific corners of the media that have been set up almost exclusively for them. You know, they've got the friends in high places, they've got the friends with deep pockets, and you know, anybody who's getting into politics like me, or I would imagine you, who is fussed about the corruption and whatnot, we just don't have those same platforms, we don't have those same friends and resources. There's also another deeply entrenched cultural problem in terms of the way people vote in this country. Like I said, me and you, we're probably fairly politically engaged and, you know, make up our minds about how to vote and act politically based on a number of factors and evaluating all the evidence. But for a lot of people, most of them don't vote, or only vote in general elections, or when they do vote in a general election, they just vote for the party that their parents voted for as well, or the party of their chosen media outlet. And that's it. That's the real engagement they do with politics. That's it. They turn out once every 4 or 5 years and they vote for the same party they basically always do. Now that's it. Those gatekeeping, that gatekeeping is a major problem. It's one of the biggest things we need to address, and it's one that the Tories or Labour have no interest in addressing. Is for a lot of people in those parties who've made a career out of politics, it's that status quo and gatekeeping that keeps them employment, that puts food on the table. Frankly, even if these people aren't working their kind of high income grifts that someone like Boris Johnson does, where they rake in millions for, you know, writing a column in the Telegraph or whatever, if they're just some researcher, still for them, this is how they make a living. They've got an interest in making sure politics is a two-party system. It's kept to that two-party system, and they're 100% committed to that, because actually existing in the labour market that, you know, me and you exist in, where there's competition and whatnot, and actually how well you do your job plays quite a heavy factor in how successful you are. They're only comfortable in an environment where actually it's how loyal you are that determines how successful you are, and they find that transition rather painful. So the main reason I'm running is to challenge that status quo. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I don't love being involved in politics. I hate all the backslapping and grandstanding and having to deal with people who've taken up a position not because they believe that position, but because that's what it's politically expedient to say. I find working with people like that incredibly frustrating. Any normal person would. But actually, I think when we're in a time of ecological and economic crisis, if there's one group of people we need to keep well away from political positions of power, it's career politicians who are beholden to organisations who got us into this mess, rather than the electorate. And now over the next few weeks I'll put stuff out in more detail on specific policy areas like healthcare or transport, but honestly most of my views fairly mundane and unsurprising. If you follow me on social media you probably already know that. Anyway, it's a busy Saturday, so I'm going to crack on and do something fun with kids now. They've been very good not bursting in and disturbing me while I'm recording this. And if you've watched this video to the end, well done, thank you. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend.